Hi, Rivers here. I got more things to tell you, more stories to tell you. When I was born, I didn't exactly pop out into this mortality, this mortal existence with a great deal of gratitude. Like I said, I was a likable kid. I loved my parents loved me, and I could be funny, and I could be charming when I chose to be charming, which unfortunately I didn't always choose to be. But nonetheless, my mom and dad treated me with great kindness and with tons of patience, especially my mom. And she determined from an early age that this oldest child of hers, who she loved dearly, that he needed to learn the power and what she called the attitude, and I needed to obtain what she called an attitude of gratitude, because I wasn't very grateful for things. I was just kind of sometimes mad at the world and kind of surly and sullen sometimes. And so she worked on me so patiently, and she drilled this idea of having an attitude of gratitude, pointing out how the great benefits of gratitude in one's life. And so I want to read to you something that I wrote. Elder Joseph Wordlin talked beautifully about the power of gratitude in a general conference. He said, "Gratitude turns a meal into a feast and drudgery into delight. It softens our grief and heightens our pleasure. It turns the simple and common into the memorable and transcendent. It forges bonds of love and fosters loyalty and admiration." So after my mom kept working on me to have this attitude of gratitude, it was very helpful. And then when I was on my mission in Finland, it was like it was a perfect kind of finishing school for gratitude. And I consider myself a very, very grateful person. And I believe that I have an attitude of gratitude. And it's one of the best, it's almost like this superpower that I have. And it's a superpower that I want each of you guys to have in your life. Just being grateful for all of the blessings that you've been given, being grateful for your mom and your dad, being grateful for cousins and even Rivers and Queenie, and just being grateful for things. So this is what I wrote. My attitude of gratitude really began to grow in Finland. While thinking of what, I wrote this in a letter to Winston. What to write to you this week, I was reminded of a very powerful experience I had in Kuopio, Finland. Now, this was about 50 years ago. I remember it vividly. As you know, I was born with a cleft lip. So if you look really carefully, you'll see some scar tissue right here. And when I was born, and I was a very handsome baby, but the scar tissue, there was a gap, not super noticeable, but it was a defect, a birth defect, a very mild one, I might add. But I was born with this cleft palate. And so I was really lucky, because usually what happens is if you have a cleft lip, you have what's called a cleft palate, which is the palate is the roof of your mouth. And surprisingly, you use the roof of your mouth to speak and to kind of be this echo chamber of your voice. And for some reason, I dodged a bullet, and it was just this cleft lip right here. And then the little punching bag at the back of my mouth, there was a split. Instead of having just the one, I think it's called a uvula, having just one uvula, mine is split. So there's two of them. So I'm kind of like a freak of nature. I could go, maybe to a circus or something like that. Oh, maybe I should do that. Anyway, when I was born in Salt Lake City back in 1955, It was, Salt Lake City was home to the primary children's hospital and also home to two pioneers of pediatric plastic surgery, Dr. Wolf and Dr. Broadbent. I remember both of them vividly. If you're gonna have a birth defect, anybody in their right mind would pick a cleft lip because plastic surgery can fix it pretty niftily. Well, Momo and Grandpa had Dr. Broadbent do some early plastic surgery on me when I was only a couple weeks old, and then Dr. Wolf also did a couple of things over the years. And their surgery helped transform me into this handsome, ruggedly handsome grandpa of yours. Me, Rivers. I'm just joking. However, not all children born with cleft lips, and especially cleft palates, are able to have brilliant pediatric plastic surgeons to do their cosmetic plastic surgery. I was lucky. I am so grateful for this. And so I will tell you that kids can be cruel, and I endured a few taunts and a little bit of ugliness at school. Since I was a pretty decent sized kid, it was kind of, they weren't right in my face, but there were a couple of things that were said, and I had a couple of rough days, and I'm very tender-hearted, and I'd come home and I would talk to my mom, and my mom would help console me. So as I got older, I thought less and less about my lip, although I often wondered whether any young woman would ever want to kiss me. Well, a couple did, especially Queenie. Well, Kuopio, Finland, where I was a missionary back in, this would be fall of 1975, was a beautiful city set in the middle of Finland in what's called the Lake District. I love Kuopio. The members treated us like $1 million and they fed us really good. And we had a beautiful lakeside studio apartment. We actually had a few investigators. Life was grand. I had just been made senior companion and I was gaining confidence with each day with my Finnish. One day in September, October of 1975, I was tracting in a 10-story apartment building with my companion. And in my Mr. Max chocolate brown flamethrower resistant Swedish double knit suit. These suits wore like iron, and over time, they picked up kind of a pretty pronounced sheen that could blind, if the sun hit it just right, could blind bicyclists on the road. And it was, but these things wore like iron. Okay, maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit. So it was my door. It's kind of a cool autumn day. And I twisted the doorbell on one of the apartments. And after I twisted the doorbell, I felt a tug on my raincoat. And I heard a very tinny sounding voice, not a normal sounding voice. And I immediately looked down and beheld an otherwise beautiful 6-year-old Finnish girl with a massive cleft lip and cleft palate. So her cleft went all the way up into her nose, and it was pretty grotesque looking. And I melted into a pool of gratitude. All of my experiences, all of my surgeries, all of my wonderful talks with my mom, all of the self-awareness of my cleft lip and how much I hated it at times, I just melted into this puddle of gratitude when I saw this otherwise beautiful little Finnish 6-year-old girl talking to us. I instantly teared up. I could barely speak. She had obviously never seen the inside of a pediatric plastic surgeon's office. It was really bad. Even now, almost 50 years later, I cannot reflect upon this experience without tears welling up and great feelings of gratitude for my parents, for Doctors Wolf and Broadbent. And when I saw her, I was just washed over with just wave after wave after wave of gratitude. And I just reflected upon my incredible good fortune in having a wise and wonderful mom and a wise and wonderful dad. And my mission was full of experiences like this that helped me further reinforce my attitude of gratitude. I love my mission. I love Finland, and I love the Finns. It was the hardest thing I've ever done, but it was one of the best things I've ever done. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.